Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, and I am your host, Candi CWall Waller, coming to you for this one live. Bowie Television, Verizon Channel 11, Comcast Xfinity, Channel 77 if you are in the city of Bowie and surrounding areas. If you are joined online from either my Facebook or the Bowie TV YouTube, come on in, thumbs up, hit the love button. This is absolutely for Washington Commanders fans. And if you are not a Washington Commanders fan, but you know some people that love them dearly, you want to chime on in to this conversation and send them the link to this so that they can get in on all of the exclusive insights that I am bringing from NFL Week 4 in Arizona. As most of you know, hopefully, if you've been watching the episodes, I went from Cincinnati, Monday Night Football, came home for a brief moment to do a game recap of Monday Night Football from the couch, and then went to Arizona to join the team out there and cover the team out there while they practice out in Arizona. So I am back, and I think everybody's happy to be back because that's a lot. That was a lot. So I'm giving you all a moment to jump on in the conversation. And while you all are jumping into the conversation, make sure you say hello to Mama Waller and Papa Waller because they are always watching. Mama Waller typically jumps on the live. Pops Waller, as you all know, he chimes in later on. So I will start saying hello to some of Commanders fans. I see Cameron Mingo has jumped on. Stephen Askins has jumped on as well. As Stephen said, it is in fact a victory Monday for Commanders fans. And as I told you all, Mama Waller has jumped on. So she has joined the conversation. So let's go ahead and get started because as you all know, it's a lot. And this episode includes many clips as always, because we got to pull receipts. We have to pull and gather the receipts collecting. Okay, win, lose, or draw. We're gonna talk through the receipts. And as we're going through this episode, you all please drop in the chat if you've watched previous episodes, things you've heard me say and mention to make sure you're looking out for as you're watching the game. So, you all, let's go ahead and get into it. We have to say hello to the photographer extraordinaire, Darrell Lee Owens Sr. Everybody shout him out. My partner in this, not in crime. It's in covering the Washington Commanders. You don't do any crime. Okay. So you all listen, but hey, Darrell will tell you, we've had a blast. It's great, but everybody is happy to be home. Okay, the team, the staff, everybody's just happy to be home. So hit that love button. If you're joining from YouTube, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and getting the notifications for all of the amazing content that is on Bowie TV. There's so many different shows, so much you could gather and get from watching and subscribing to Bowie Television. We have a little bit of it all. Now, here's the beauty about live television. And if you're watching from TV, you now know that the game recaps are sometimes live. So you can chime in there or you can watch later from your TV screen. Here's the beauty about live TV. Sometimes you could do things unscripted. So that's what this is going to be. A bit unscripted. I see Tina Moore has joined. So it's going to be a bit unscripted, you all, from the perspective of you. Some of you all have sent questions in. So I want to get to the questions. But before we get to the questions, we got to do some crowd engagement. I have to get into the engage. Got to start getting you all's feedback, and like I said, start dropping in the chat if you already seeing things in the game that I told you all. Hey, you want to look out for these things. Start dropping that in the chat. But because this is now a third victory day in a row, gotta play this. Gotta play what's your one word. What is your one word? Describe how you felt at the conclusion of the Commanders' 42-14 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Go ahead and drop those one words. Drop them in the chat. I want to know your one word. I want to know what you really just thought about the game. It was a lot. It was a lot, and I'm cracking up here at Melvin and Russ McCray. And I'm glad you joined, Russ, because the organization would have been very upset if you had not. So I know Tina says unbelievable. Steven says great. Look, I don't know. I think Darrell had his word was impressed. Hey, and I think I shared with some of you all that follows my page. I said, you know, and not that we want, and Darrell knows this. We don't want to get into a string of interesting events and things that happen before the game. But Monday had turned into a series. I don't want to say unfortunate events. I'll say interesting events. Yesterday was the same thing, a series of interesting events. So much such that I had to, and you can tell Donna Hopkins I'm talking about her. You can tell David Harrison I'm mentioning him too. Darrell knows this. The team comes in, capture team arrivals. Okay, great. Some of the team comes back out before they head out to the field for warm-ups. And we are talking to Coach Daryl Tapp. We're talking to head coach Dan Quinn. And I said, you know what, Dan? This is story time, you all. So you might want to tag people in because they're going to miss story time. I had a story time last week. I got story time this week too. But I can't necessarily get into too much detail about this story time. But I said, you know what, Coach? On Monday, it wasn't a good day for us, for some of us. It was a stressful road to Paycor Stadium. And I said this randomness can only be happening if the Washington Commanders are going to win tonight. This is just how sure. And I told this story last week about what happened in Cincinnati, but I told a lot more details. Now with this one, I'm not going to get into the details. But what I am going to say is I was very, very clear with Coach. Because I don't know if you all watch some of these Commanders videos, but Coach got to, he say a few 4-letter words every now and again. Okay. I had a real conversation with him and say, this is what's going to happen today. Okay, this is what I believe you all are going to do out there on that football field. Because that's just how ridiculous this morning has been. So that can only mean one thing, that y'all are going to go out here and do something that most people, including myself, think you cannot, but you're going to go ahead and go out here and get that done. And he said, I agree. And I like that thinking, Candi. Thank you. And that is what we're going to do. And I was like, good. And I talked to him in his language at that time. I said, this is probably very inappropriate, but let's go ahead and have a very direct conversation right now, because that's the type of time I'm on and that's the kind of mood that I am in. And there you have it. And let the record reflect. that they went ahead and did what I told him I thought they would do. Now, I probably had nothing to do with that in reality, but I would like to think that I did. So much such that I might just go out there on Wednesday and ask for a game ball. Seriously. Like, hey, did you leave one of those for me? At any rate, I'm somewhere in between my one word being wow. I think that was wow. I think my one word was definitely wow. Um I guess every week hey, I'm not changing my numbers. I said this and a lot of things, Tina. I really did. And coach understood me. We had a very he understood me. I mean, Donna and David were like cracking up laughing because they couldn't believe it. And I was like, don't laugh, I'm being serious. I want coach to know that this is it's unprofessional, professional that is going to get with me, but I'm serious. I'm doing my media thing. It's just I'm having a very direct conversation. And so he was down with it. He was feeling the whole conversation. And if you watch my pregame, tag in Wole and the guys from All Burgundy and Go, everything. I said, hey, look, if they continue to improve, this could be a good thing. But in order for the team to truly be successful, the defensive line, somebody has to show up. And I said last week, I asked for 3 people. I said many things. I talked about the run game. I talked about starting field position. And I talked about 3 people. I said Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, and Deron Payne. Okay. And last week we saw Terry this week as well. So that's going to continue to go forward. And then Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, right? I just wanted the defensive line to appear and the brand of football that they talk about they want to play. And lo and behold, got a little bit of everybody involved. But Dorrance Armstrong, I was like, well, what? Kind of forgot about you a little bit. But 92, Dorrance, you reminded everybody why they signed you in the off season. And I was appreciative. Last week in the media scrum, I think I mentioned this in one of the episodes while I was out in Phoenix, and they kept talking about 1.5 sacks. We were going back and forth about that in the press box. Like, look, that was 2. Why you got to share? But anyway, 1.5. That's what it is. We were counting 2. But at any rate, Bobby Wagner told everybody exactly what needed to happen in order to defeat Kyler Murray. He said it in his media scrum, and I shared it and showed it on my episode. And lo and behold, the defense did it. I said, oh, wow. Now, I was concerned. Everybody talks about Kyler, right? And what a threat he can be, and that this could potentially be a comeback game, a get it together game, because typically that's what people do against the Washington Commanders. Call them whatever name they are. It is typically a get yourself together game against this team. Historically, that's what everybody thought was going to happen with the Bengals. That's what everybody thought was going to happen with the Cardinals. Kyler going to get it. He's going to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to tell you, yes, I was concerned about those too, but who I was really concerned about was James Conner, because that is who Coach Quinn and Coach Joe Witt Jr. brought up in conversation last week. And I said, hey, they bringing up these guys. They keep bringing up this guy. And after I really looked at some film for myself, I said, oh, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. All right. But I went back to the clip and what Bobby Wagner said in his media scrum of how you beat Kyler Murray. And I sat there in that press box yesterday. Once I got my seat, I sat there in the press box and I said, Coach Witt is doing exactly what Bobby said they needed to do in order to stop Kyler. And the team is responding. There was one point in the press box. You talk about wow and disbelief and impressed, where I had to stop. And I think I may have posted it. And I said, I think this is the brand of football they've been talking about. And we're going to get there because I have plenty of clips. You all know this is interactive, so I have plenty of clips. So you want to tag in your Washington Commanders loving family and friends because you want to pay attention to this. This is always receipt collecting time. And this goes to a question that I think Mazdak had. We're going to get into questions that folks have as well. And I said, I knew they were in there somewhere. I knew they were. Because there's just no way. I'm not saying you top of the line at all. But what I am saying is I knew they were in there somewhere. Because they walk around this building and like Coach said, anywhere, anybody, anywhere, any you know what time. I mean, this stuff is on the walls. It's run and hit. Everything is aggressive. Everything. I mean, you read it every day. You practice it every single day. It's got to click at some point. And lo and behold, it clicked. Now, it's still a lot of room of improvement, but this is what I'll say about that room of improvement. Barring any injury, if this team continues to improve, wow, whoa. Now, we're going to get into Jaden's pick because, hey, listen, last week in the press conference, my colleague John Keim asked the question. And he said, Jaden hasn't thrown any picks yet. And Coach Cliff said, please don't do that. And we said, oh, Lord, here we go. And so I'm not saying that Keim jinxed him. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is a pick was coming sooner or later. And I'm kind of glad that it did because I was starting to really get concerned. Like, I see Jaden, but is this, listen, I'm going to tell you, I am going to say this about Jaden. I was watching Jaden one day and I've always debated on telling this. It's not really a story, but it was just something that popped into my head as I was watching him, just paying attention to him. And I was like, this kid's got a gift. And I'm pretty sure Adam Peters saw it. I went back to the press conference when they drafted Jaden, and I listened to some of the things that Adam Peters said about Jaden. And I thought about that moment when I was watching him. And then I thought about from week 1 to yesterday and all the days in practice and last week in practice. And I was like, this kid, he's good. He's good. And this team, I don't know. And I'm not changing my 7 number, okay? Because it sticks. And I want everyone to still continue to temper their expectations. I have said it. If they win at least 7, they get to 7 games. That is an extraordinary year. But I sat there yesterday, and at one point in time, I put my binoculars down and I just looked and stared. And I could call out what I wanted to see. And they were doing it. And I was like, that's the stuff that we saw all summer long. And the crazy thing is, they're executing this now against opposing teams. It's one thing when they can do it to each other. Now they're figuring out how to do it to opposing teams. And I'm like, this is going to be very fun to watch if they continue on with this. Okay. And I want to shout out real quick DJ Bland, and we're going to get into some clips they're fine, but his family has been impacted by the hurricane. So continue to keep him in prayer. Others that are impacted by the hurricane, continue to keep them in prayer, because we do have viewers and folks that watch our content that are impacted by the hurricane. So prayers to all, and to your family and friends as well that are impacted. We are absolutely praying for you all, and hoping for the best and what you are going through. And we hope that our content brings some joy and just brings some distraction if you need it, to step away from what you are going through. Now, before I go into this, let me just go ahead and get this. Let me get this off my chest, okay? Cliff Kingsbury. All right. Cliff, you know what? Love button, fire emoji. Is anybody gonna just Cliff, man? Cliff Kingsbury. Here's the whole thing about Cliff Kingsbury. And I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna get into some clips, all right? But I wanted to go ahead and get the Cliff Kingsbury pictures out the way, because I said Cliff all week. Cliff and Cliff and let me not go too far with this Cliff Kingsbury piece of this, because Russ McCray might shut it off, and then the organization will have to give him a call and say what happened to the stream. So listen, this I'm gonna say somebody else said it. All right. Monday and yesterday, again, behind the scenes, exclusive content, okay? Cliff comes in there dressed to the nines all the time. All right? All of the time. Cliff came in there yesterday in all black. Do you know how hot it is? In fact, I've been talking about how hot it is. He came in there with all black on, just being Cliff. But it was simple. But tell Donna Hopkins, I'm talking about her again. I looked over at Donna and I said, oh, because she was like, oh, Cliff not as dressed up. I said, oh, yes, he is. He has made a statement in that all black when it's 1,087 degrees outside. He's made a whole statement. Yes, we know the roof is closed, we inside, but that is still saying a lot. And what he just said is he's about to stop a play calling hole in this place. Okay? He's not here. He's not here for playtime. He in a mood. He on a path. And he's about to make this work. For real this time. Okay? It was simple swagger, though. It was simple, but it was simple, but it was impactful, because I knew what type of time he was on. I said, oh, he's on demon time. He's not. This is all week long. He's just cool as a cucumber. You don't really care. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I still got my house here. Yeah, whatever. He came in there and it was evident to me. He knows what time this is. He's had this circled on his calendar for a very long time. So let's keep going on that path. All right, because go ahead and drop it in the chat, you all. We have a lot of clips to cover. I have a lot of questions to cover. Some of you all sent me some questions over, so I have that as well. But let me know, were you all alarmed by the Jaden Daniels pick? Were you all alarmed by that? Did it upset you at all? It was bound to happen. Terry was being double teamed. He talked about it, of course, in his press conference, and I'm going to play a couple of clips here. But I just love the recovery. I love the corrective action. It's interesting because when he did another shot to Terry, and Terry was being double teamed, and I was like, okay, he's just trying to make this work, and it's not working, so they need not do that anymore. And funny enough, they didn't do it anymore, which I just like to see corrective action and adjustments. If it's not working, go to something else that'll work. But hey, let's go to the clip where Jaden definitely, and some of these clips, I honestly don't know which clips they are. I know which clips they are, but I don't know which part of the conversation they're going to come up in. So we're going to make this work. Okay, you all, love button, fire emoji if you all are down for making this work. Because let me tell you something. This has been a very long week, very long. And we're all happy to be home. But this is why some of this might be out of order. But I do know these are Jaden Daniels clips coming up.
Sorry to go back to that. What happened on the pick from your perspective?
Shit, threw a pick. Threw it behind Terry. Just something that we haven't talked about. I've seen differently, but I guess you could say kind of got greedy. And and then in this league, that's going to happen. If you tips and overthrows, they're good players, so they're going to be able to pick the ball off. So it's just how can we bounce back?
Threw a pick. And it's really nothing, he threw it behind Terry. I mean, hey, happens. Threw that pick. But let me tell you, it was the defensive series after that I said, those are the people we've been looking for, I think. Granted, the Cardinals are struggling. Yes. But it's games like the one yesterday and Monday, and truth be told, against the Giants, that the Commanders in the past, historically, they don't win those football games. They lose those games. They typically lose those, but not this team. So let's go ahead and move on to another clip.
Now that it's in the rear view, I mean, just being here practicing at Arizona State, was that weird at all? Was it, kind of good to be at this spot?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. Bittersweet, being back, knowing like all the memories I had here with guys that I built relationships with, that are brothers to me. Seeing we all started here, it's kind of weird just being back, because I haven't been back since I left. So that was the weird part. But it was awesome being back here, being back in the desert, seeing a lot of places that I was at before, where I lived and stuff like that.
So listen, I thought about Jaden last week too. He's another one, right? He's so cool, calm, and collected. Everybody's focused. Nobody's really thinking about how you left or what happened when you were there. Of course, there's going to be some good memories and you're going to think about some good things and some, may have some tough thoughts too. But they came to rock and roll. They did. And I think they left with a statement. And they made that statement for sure. And I know it's a lot of conversations around this as well. Is it too early to call him an MVP candidate? I'm gonna just put that back down. Because I'm not. I mean, that discuss amongst yourselves. I think it's a valid question, but discuss that amongst yourselves. I'm going to get into the rest of this. Is a lot of DQ clips, you all. Think a lot of this is a DQ clips. Love button, fire emoji if you caught my episodes from the desert. I did 2 while I was out there and just sharing with you all some of the media scrums that we had, quite a few, right? In those episodes, of course, press conferences. I think I included Jeremy McNichols, Zach Ertz, Luke McCaffrey, Mike Sainristil. I may be missing a couple here or there. And like I said, of course, some of the pressers. But so much of what was shared last week. Again, I mentioned Bobby Wagner earlier in this conversation, but with Jeremy McNichols on Friday, everything he said that he was going to do and what he was going to deliver on. I mean, that was why he was one of the game captains anyway. I mean, he is just an incredible teammate and very competitive and wants to make the play. He made that huge play on that crazy last play Monday night to the touchdown to Terry. And so that's the kind of receipt collecting I do. I need to be able to point to what is said, and I need to be able to see it turned into action, because when you see what somebody is saying and it's turned into action, that's accountability. And I just cannot say enough about, for right now, you think about week one. Think about week one, everybody. Take a moment to reflect on week one. Think about week two, then week three, and then week four. It's literally in our faces, the improvement every single week. Things that we know, because we're asking the questions of what needs to be worked on, what folks need to do to grow, to improve, to play the brand of football that this team wants to play. And then you watch the game and you see it. And one thing that I appreciated in Luke McCaffrey's media scrum, because this is something else that I've been telling you all, when he talked, and Jeremy McNichols said this as well. Well, this is stuff that we've been practicing. We've been practicing it. It's not that we haven't been practicing. We've been practicing. Because remember, I told you all that. Hey, this is stuff that they've been practicing. All right. And still coming up, still happening. What's going on? I think now they are better preparing for just the speed of the game and just their opponent, because they're no longer playing each other. So they are coming in with that opponent in mind. If you haven't, I think it was the Friday morning episode. When you all get a chance, if you haven't already taken a look at it, definitely take a look at it, because the Bobby Wagner media scrum, within that, he said exactly what to do in order to beat Kyler Murray. He said exactly what to do. And they did it. So they did it. And while that may sound small, that is a very big deal. When you actually know you got a player, future Hall of Famer player, and so you're going to, of course, assume that the coaches understand and know this as well. And they did that thing to shut that player down. When it started getting out of hand early, right? Remember, the Cardinals scored first. I mean, they had the ball first, they received first, but they scored. Went right on down the field. So for everybody to see the adjustments made in real time, that is a very important point. That is a very important point, because I don't think yet until yesterday we saw that much of a change in game. But they did. I respected it. I appreciated it a great deal. Now let's get into all of these clips. Like I said, this is going to be a lot of Dan Quinn clips, you all, from last night's presser after the game to today's after game press conference. So let's get into all of these clips. Drop in the chat any comments that you have at the end of these clips. And there are several, so roll with me, you all. This is the Washington Commanders Update. I'm your host, Candi CWall Waller, and I'm giving you exclusive insights from NFL Week 4. It's been a long week, you all. It's been a very long week. I'm very happy to be home and be sharing with you all from home. So let's get into these clips. Still got to get into everybody's questions. So if you sent the question over, I'm absolutely going to answer it. Let's get into these clips first.
To see you guys. First thing I wanted to hit before we got started, tonight I thought it was really cool to see burgundy and gold in the crowd, behind our bench, and to see that here in Arizona to show up, and I felt their presence, and so that was really cool. From the team standpoint, I thought a couple things. First, I thought it was an important road trip, a lot of sacrifice to go out to Cincinnati Monday night, way here, be away from their families to do that, and so we wanted to make sure that was worth it. That sacrifice. I thought the guys worked really hard during the week, getting us ready for this game. They got a number of talented players, so I thought the guys coming in late on a Tuesday really put the work in. And then the last piece, I thought tonight an example of complementary football again, why that's so big. First drive down, scoring for us to go answer, a big deal. We had an interception. The defense went, to go a 3-and-out stop. So I thought those were the things that I felt, that complimentary ball that I talk about a lot. And then the last piece, I thought just a quick shout out to the big guys, to have a big rushing performance, with over 200 yards and no sacks. That's a big guys kind of day. And so to see those guys really ramped up and ready, and the running backs, tight ends, the whole group of it all, I thought that was really strong. So strong. So
I did too, Coach. I really, really did. I think I already posted this comment, but couple things to Lamar Bland's comment. Well, first to Kurt Smith's comment about the coaching structure. It is. I mean, that's one of the things that we talked about on the show in the past, is that everybody's looking at the players. Look at the coaching staff. And that is one thing that Cliff Kingsbury brought up going into week 1. He said he knows that everybody is watching to see what this coaching staff is going to do, because they have pulled in so many great minds from across the league to assemble here and do great things. He said that. He said he knows everybody is watching because of just who's here coaching. It's coming together. It is coming together, right? And I've gone out now. I can go down a real rabbit hole on this one. And very soon I will, right? Very soon I will. Because when we're talking about Bobby Johnson working with the offensive line, we're talking about Anthony Lynn working with the running backs, when we're talking about Ken Norton Jr. working with the linebackers, to Lamar Bland's comment about Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. First things first, I told y'all Frankie Louvu was a maniac. I said that. I mean that with all due respect and with the most of just high regard for his type of mania. I'm not saying it in a negative way. He's a very normal person, very kind, very pleasant. Really enjoy covering him. Seriously, dope individual for sure. But he's absolutely he's real far out. And I remember one day after practice, I said, hey, Coach Norton, hey, let me talk to you about something. I said, I know I sound concerned, but I'm not really concerned. I was like, are your linebackers okay? He was like, what do you mean? He was like, oh yeah, they crazy, ain't they? Yes. Like, I mean, how you gonna strip? You gonna force a fumble and recover all of this? How you doing all this, Frankie? And I know I literally shared on the show several times that, hey, I don't know about anybody else, but I would not want Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu running up on me at the same time. No, absolutely not. I've also come on here and said Bobby Wagner in the last few years warms up about week 4 or 5. Give him a minute, everybody. Oh, Bobby's slow. He did that in the third. First of all, Bobby is like 30, he's 34, which means he's 177 in football years. So for him to do what he is doing right now and continuing to improve every single week, and you all probably saw it. I'm not sure if it was shown on the TV version, but Bobby did not want to get out of the game. It was 2 minutes left. Bobby, I don't know. Look at the scoreboard. It's okay. He was looking at the coaches like, what's wrong with y'all? They were like, what's wrong with you? Come on, let's go. He's like, he did not want, and he had to go and talk. Coach Quinn had to talk to him. Like, hey, it's all right. It's, we're going with this for the last 2 minutes of the game. He was not pleased. He wanted to keep playing. Hey, great day. Also, what Coach Quinn said was what? And oh, wait a minute. I see some folks have joined in. Nevin and then Bernard Plummer. Jordan McGee should be back soon. And when he gets back, that group is just, where's your notebook? Does everyone have their notebook? I tell you all, when you watch the show, to bring your notebook. Bring your notebook and bring a pen. Okay, because it's very important points noted at all times, and things that I bring up when you watch these episodes. I want you to make note of them and circle them and put the date on them, so that when you see it again, when you see it, you can be like, CWall said. That's right. CWall said. You need to make sure, because when Jordan McGee gets back, that linebacker crew. mm, mm. So yes, um, it's something else when it all comes together. And I'm anxious to see it when it all happens, when it all goes down. Um, and Jordan McGee, I see the question here. Jordan McGee is the rookie linebacker from Temple. He's actually from Towson, Maryland, and he's from Temple University. Amazing football player, just all the things. He got hurt in the first preseason game, had a knee situation, but should be back soon. Him and Marcus Mariota, actually. It's a couple of them that will be coming off of IR, actually. So he's dynamic. He's dynamic. And he was already you know, yeah, everybody is, hey, listen, y'all. It's a lot of season left. We just in week 4. So Jordan gonna come in when it's getting hot. When they getting hot, Jordan gonna come in. I already know. I already know. And if you haven't seen it yet, Bowie TV, he was actually the first rookie that I interviewed one-on-one. So that was already like, hey, this kid is exactly what they want in terms of the type of football they want to play, because he came in preseason game hot, and he ended up getting hurt, unfortunately. I think he made only play like 6 or 9 snaps, and he was already just doing great things. The offensive line, at what point do we need to apologize to them? Is it too soon to apologize to the offensive line? I'm being serious. Go ahead and drop in the chat when you all think um, we need to apologize to the offensive line. So hold on. Use your clues. We already, Al Williams, you late on this clue. You're late on this clue. And I'm going to tell you why you're late. He already told us that. Game captains. And then he said, game captains. And then he said, when we make the playoffs, we'll have team captains. Dan Quinn has already spoken on that. And I was like, ooh, I think I was actually wearing pearls that day at practice. And because I was going somewhere else after. And I was like, oh, okay, coach. You must have heard us talking about y'all's little 7 wins this year. You were like, stop playing with me, y'all. Game captains. And when we make the playoffs, it'll be team captains. Oh, okay. Go ahead and be quiet. So he was real clear. When. But go ahead and put this reminder in your notebook. So Kevin says it's too soon for the O-line apologies. And hey, maybe it is. But these last 2 games, that offensive line has been playing 5-1. And that is something that Tyler Biage has been saying from the beginning. I wrote that note and used that clue back in May, and I documented it, and I told you all, you listen to what he's saying. He said they are learning. They understand they have to play 5-1 every week. That's all I'm saying. And you all hear me say this all the time. Every week, all you want to see is them get better. You want to see improvement. Here's another thing, because Nick Allegretti, his x-rays on his ankle did come back negative. Okay. I saw Nick, apparently I didn't realize he had been injured. And I was standing outside the locker room and I was talking to people as they came by, because I like to see the smiling faces. Now, Monday night, I think there was a lot of smiling faces, but I was just so busy. It was just like, couldn't really, and I knew that we had a long week ahead. So I wasn't really focused on, but yesterday I said, let me stand out here for a minute. Let me stand out here for a minute, and I'm gonna do my own greeting and talking to players as they can't come out. And when Nick came out, he had a boot on. I'm telling you, he had a boot on. And I said, Nick, don't wait a minute. We were gonna have a good conversation, but don't even worry about it. I was about to ask you what that boot was doing on your foot, but that boot is about to mess with the blessing that I have for myself, because I would like to talk to you and just congratulate you on a great game and say travels back. I'm not gonna let that boot mess up my spirit. I'm not. And he said, please don't. Safe travels to you as well. See you back in Ashburn. Roger that. So the x-rays are negative. Should be fine. They are they're doing a good thing. They're doing a good thing. And that's all I could say. I'm surprised. And now that is the group. And that's why I brought up apologies, because that is the group that I was like, Now, it's a group that we are not apologizing to just yet, and that is the secondary. We're not apologizing to them yet. But let's go into some more clips, shall we?
Coach, a lot of conversation this week about really starting to establish that defensive identity. How big of a step do you guys think you guys took today?
It was an important one. I had told the defense here, you're closer than you think. And it hadn't been the performances that we wanted going into today. But I didn't think we were as far off. And so I thought, knock one out with Oos to get the recovery. I thought that was big. Felt their pass rush, and the guys, the energy. And so nice thing as a coach on games like this, there's clearly things to improve upon. We had some penalties that we wouldn't have liked. But by and large, I thought, seeing defensively, especially on that stop after the interception, I thought what a great example of, having, one other's back, from the offense after the first score to go down and score, and then defensively after the interception to go do the same. So that was really cool for me to see.
I think that all that coach said, you all know I'm right on there. And that was one of the things that I mentioned that was so big, that after that interception, the defense, Jaden's interception, the defense did not let the Cardinals feel any momentum. Like, nah, we gonna get him the ball back. You're not gonna get any of this. And that's when I said it, I posted it, and I know I'm repeating myself. I said, oh, I think this is the brand of football they've been talking about, everybody. Look at this. Oh. And it becomes one of those things where it's like, again, you're seeing what they're talking about in action. See, when you talk, it doesn't matter. Action always matters. And so you're seeing it in action. Appreciate DQ giving the defense that encouragement of you're closer than you think. And in some of these clips, you'll hear him say that over and over again. So let's jump into some more clips, because like I said, I have plenty of clips, and then I also have questions. So you all stick with me, because it's still a lot more to cover.
This is obviously not just another game for Cliff based on his past. I imagine you guys maybe gave him a game ball or something. What was your thoughts on what this means for him, but also his performance as a play caller?
Yeah, I thought Cliff was really, over the last, few weeks, I thought the connection, the game planning to go. And so, yes, he did. And just, I've been in that space before and know there's some emotion that goes with that of, playing somewhere where you put so much into it and it doesn't, go the way that you want. So, yeah, he definitely got one today. And there'll be some others as we get back home, but I wasn't going to leave Arizona without presenting one to him. But he did an excellent job all week, Ben, honestly, just like staying in it, the game plan, the focus, the effort, and no one would have ever known otherwise, the internal side, and those emotions that are there. But it was really cool to see that after the game.
As I mentioned earlier, and if you're just joining, you're watching from the Coaching from the Couch series, the Washington Commanders Update. I am the host, Candi CWall Waller. This is Bowie Television, and I'm giving you all the exclusive insights from NFL Week 4. The Commanders come into their trap, taking over their trap. Um, and Commanders fans, y'all traveled deep out there into that heat in the desert in Phoenix. My goodness, the cheers was it was nice. It was really really nice. As Dan Quinn said, you would not have known that Cliff was anything. I mean, Cliff was just Cliff. He was just Coach Kingsbury. Um, he was just Coach Kingsbury, and he was but when he walked in that stadium in that all black in 1,050-degree heat, I said, "Oh, please. Cliff is out here ready for whatever is about to come out here today. He ain't even coming. He's not he's gonna hit the gas all day. All day. And you have to remember just in week 2 how they played. 7 field goals. They won the game. Shout out, as always, to Austin Seibert. But to respond offensively the way Cliff Kingsbury and these players have, and the position coaches, I mean, all parties involved, to improve the way that that they have. Come on. You got to give, you have to give that credit. Have to give that credit on to some very, very good things. So let's move on to some clips from today's presser. Let's check out today's presser. Check in if you've listened or watched today's presser already. I'm about to do some of the clips from that now. Hey there, Coach. Good afternoon. You mentioned some of this in your opening statement about Sennett and Yankoff and their play yesterday. So just want to pull on that thread a little bit more on what are you seeing out of the tight end group specifically from yesterday's game?
Referring to the opener, it was honestly it was a special teams tackles. One on a punt with Ben and one on a kickoff with Yankoff. We played Sennett more in this game. You know, he got more reps than he's had probably in the previous ones. We knew the play pass was going to be a big part of this, and Ben's really equipped in that way in the run game, running routes, and so to see that, you know, coming on more, that's a big deal. And so having Zach there, it was actually really cool to see Candi, like on those 2 special teams plays. The first person probably to go see him was Zach. You know, to see his little brothers out there making a tackle and stuff that he does not do. So we had a lot of fun seeing that. But that's the type of energy I'm looking for from those guys. And, you know, as Ben gets going more and more, I think you'll feel his energy, his strength, his speed, you know, as the games progress.
So I posted about Ben Sennett and just the tight ends overall. You know, I said they just out here hitting people. And if you watch Locked On Commanders, my colleague David Harrison, you can let him know that I'm talking about him too, because I said he made a comment, things you hear in the press box. With the Ben Sennett hit, he was like, I mean, how would you feel as a player? Like, bro, you just got cleaned by a tight end. Them boys was out there rolling. Now, I asked about that because again, I saw the plays on special teams. I thought it was awesome. But I also saw what Coach ended up sharing on his own, and that was how hype Zach Ertz was for his tight ends and how the tight end coach, Coach Rod, I mean, they just erupted. Everybody was celebrating. Tag Darrell, if he's still on, he has pictures of the celebration. They were so excited about those tackles and just that impact that they just root for one another all the time. They get really really excited, like for real. And hey, coach said that's the kind of energy he wants to see, and he's absolutely seeing it, and everybody gets involved. It's really cool. I showed a comment. I just want to make sure it's clear about what the team did last week. The team was in Arizona all week. They did not practice outside. They practiced inside the ASU bubble. They did not practice outside. And I talked to coach directly about this because I was concerned. but they had already figured it out because that's not normal. That right there is not normal. That kind of heat. And I think I see one of our viewers, Randy Jones, said he live in Arizona. God bless you, because that whoa. And so they practiced in the bubble. They were out there all week. It was certainly a sacrifice for all parties involved to be out there. But no, they didn't practice outside. And the stadium is, it's a dome. So it was closed. So it for sure. And I still think it was genius to go out there and be away. But that 116-degree heat, that's not for anybody to be really out in, I think. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do while you're there when it's that hot, but practicing out there was not what it needed to be. Let's move on to some more clips, everybody. And I still have to answer some of you all's questions as well.
And yesterday, and the after game presser, you mentioned some penalties that you didn't like. So after you had an opportunity to take a look at the film, what were those penalties and what did you see there?
One, we had an illegal formation that we definitely had control over. So I think you've heard me talk about pre-snaps and post-snaps. Those have to go away. So one of those was pre-snap. And the other two were actually post-play, two unsportsmanlike ones. And so one was taunting for throwing out the Donna, you should like this one, for the Usain Bolt arrow. Got seen as a weapon instead of Usain Bolt, so we'll put that one on ice. And then the other one was on the sideline, Candi. That was a taunting foul, and we'll check it into the league. I certainly don't think that was OZ's intent. I think if the official had known who the person was, he probably wouldn't have thrown it. He just doesn't have that way about him. But hey, that's what they saw, that's what they called, and those are the things, Candi. If you don't step on them right now, then those things fester, and so we're not going to do that.
So by the time, because I did post, and I think I said that especially that taunting call, that was lame, that was weak sauce, and it's to Dan Quinn's point. If you know OZ, he's not taunting anyone. Now he's a hype and he's cheering and all those things, but no way was that taunting at all. Illegal formation. I can absolutely appreciate Dan Quinn being open and honest, saying, "Hey, that was on us. We had control over that one. Should not have happened." And then the Jeremy McNichols, Usain Bolt one. He did not like, but I think at that point nobody even cared. I mean, obviously Dan Quinn cared, and this is why I wanted to bring this up. Bring out your notebook. At that point in time, the team was leading. I think that was when it was like 4. I think that was the touchdown to get it up to 42, I believe. Everything was moving so fast toward the end because I was like, they gonna keep scoring. So for the team to be up like that, and head coach Dan Quinn still say, "Don't like that. That can't happen again. Don't do that." To me, that says a lot. Because that means he's still watching and he's still keeping up with it. So those are my 2 questions from today. Let's go into a couple others of the questions that I thought were bringing up very important points as well.
Somewhat of a dumb question, but Brian Robinson, he runs so hard, runs angry. Have you seen him on the day after games? Like, what is he like the day after games?
Yeah, he can. He's definitely built differently. He is that tough. He is that strong. But like for a guy, 21 carries or something along those lines. But he also dishes out a lot of punishment too. But there's some days he's more sore than others. But by and large, he's usually ready to get rolling right again, Nikki, without too much space in between. We've leaned on him, and he had to lean in a little more even this game, with Austin not being there, and we knew that going in.
So we're going to keep moving on to some of the clips. You all know that I've asked Cliff Kingsbury as well about Brian Robinson, asked him specifically last week about Brian Robinson, what he thought about him so far. And he said, hey, he's everything I thought he would be and more. During the summer, Cliff Kingsbury told me he believes that Brian Robinson Jr. is a number 1 back in this league. Listen, B-Rob is not disappointed at all. And as Nikki asked the question, Nikki CWall from the Washington Post, she asked that question because it was like, is he okay? It takes like 3 or 4 people to take him down. And as head coach Dan Quinn said, B-Rob dishes out some punishment as well. Like, hey, you not gonna take him down without like a real fight. And I don't think I would want to fight with Brian Robinson Jr. I'm just saying. All right, let's keep moving on to more clips.
Hey Dan, I was just wondering, after looking at the tape, what did you make of the play of your secondary, in particular, really your cornerbacks?
I thought first from the entire secondary, Ben, I thought going in this was going to be a tough challenge, and so I thought, from an overall standpoint, Arrow definitely up for us, to have kind of the whole thing going together, some rush on to Murray, to go into that space. I thought Chin had, probably one of his better performances at the safety spot. I thought he was aggressive. He had some chances to make some tackles, and I thought those were good. On the outside, certainly I thought they made a good pass on the, first drive. That was a touchdown to Harrison. We were in man-to-man on the play. He threw a good ball and completed it outside. So, those are the ones that you want the contested catches and going to fight for it. But I got to tip my hat to them on a good play. But I thought third downs, I thought was the real thing that changed it for us, Ben, in this game. To give the ball back to the offense, and then offensively we were able to convert the third down. So, that to me was the swing in this game, was the third downs on both sides.
So I thought that clip was perfect timing for Nevin's question about any special reason no CB pickup. Here's what I think is happening right now. You really want to know? Notebook, pen. They're 3-1 right now. If they had a losing record right now, I think they would have made a move. But for right now, because this thing is week to week, they're 3-1. So it gives a bit of time, right? We're looking at it strategically and what I am learning about this staff. You 3-1. What's the cause for panic right now when you 3-1? Doesn't mean that you don't know that this is something that needs to be addressed. 3-1 ain't too bad. Week 4. Just saying. Okay. So, does it mean that, no moves are being made? But here's what I will say. Yesterday was very impressive, and it's not necessarily, and I've been saying this for a while now, the bulk of the secondary success, we know that is a weak link on the defense. But the bulk of what will keep them out of too much trouble is exactly what everybody saw yesterday. The defensive line must get pressure. They have to finish. They have to get sacks. Still some missed tackles, though. Still quite a few missed tackles. Way too many missed tackles for my liking. But keeping the Cardinals to 14 points doesn't necessarily scream you need to make a decision and make a change right now. Doesn't mean they're not going to make a change. I'm going to keep saying that. But not right now. I think that's the key. The team is 3-1. They get that defensive line moving. And that's one of the things we talked about earlier. When I'm asking for Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, and Dorrance Armstrong showed up. I said, well, wait, hold on. That's the wrong 90 number. That wasn't the one I called. I called the other ones, but thank you, Dorrance. Thank you. And he got it going. So if they get that pressure up front, that's going to help your defensive backs tremendously. And then here's the other thing we just got to realize. Like I've been saying it. The other team gets paid too. You got to expect that the Jamar Chases of the world, the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s of the world, they're going to get at least one touchdown. Might get 2 on you, for real. I mean, they are fantastic. They're great. So you can't expect to not just get anything. I mean, these teams are not just going to not score at all. That's just not necessarily going to happen all the time. But when the record is not showing that there is a problem there. So as long as the record doesn't show it, they're okay. Now we're going to get into it in a minute and later on in the week, right? The Browns game. And I already know Northwest Stadium going to be lit on Sunday. After these wins, Commanders fans, y'all gonna go and just really cut up, I'm sure. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. Browns winnable game. The Baltimore Ravens, and we're going to have some fun with that one because then we're going to do a show with my girl Karita Parks, who's also Bowie TV. So we're going to do a show on that. The Baltimore Ravens looked a little shaky at first, but they back. They back. John Harbaugh sure knows how to get everybody to regroup, doesn't he? So this is going to get interesting fast. It's going to get interesting real quick. And then I think trade deadline is week 9 or something. Let me bring this up. I don't know what the TV version show, because I think this is a very important point. Because I've been hard on Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. I'm gonna keep being hard on them because I know they can do so much more. I really do believe that they can do so much more. I believe that. I do. There was at one point, I think they both made a sack or a tackle. I don't know, but Jonathan looked like, he looked like he was relieved. And he hugged Deron. It was like relief. Like, and this was, and if you go back and listen to Dan Quinn's, and we got a couple more clips. I don't know if I captured it in one of these clips. I'm not sure if I did or not, but this was an issue. Let's be clear. It wasn't like this was something that no one was talking about. They were having a lot of conversations about it. That's why you hear DQ saying he kept telling them you're closer than you think. And he knows that Joe Witt felt like this. And he knows that players felt like that. They're talking about it. even with the wins, they were talking about it. Like, this is not the brand of football we want to play. They're getting closer. I don't think they're not there at all. But it's still, if, and I think I saw a comment, if the Commanders defense, and we saw it, you saw it yesterday. It's not like we didn't see this thing going down in front of all of our faces. Jaden makes a mistake. Okay, the Cardinals not going to do nothing with that because the Commanders defense is going to make sure he doesn't. They're not doing anything with that. Okay, all right, mistakes happen. Go ahead, get the ball back, Jaden. Here you go. And the huge stops that they were making. Now, some things can be debatable with some of the penalties. I know a lot of people were upset about the defensive pass interference call that set up, the Noah Brown like 45-yard penalty. That was something. Because things don't normally go in the Commander's way like that, but it did. And it's just, you got to pay attention. I'm just paying attention to stuff like that. That's what I'm using my clues on now, you all. Like, oh, wait a minute. What? So, Coach talked about Jeremy Chin. I mentioned Jeremy Chin because I know that a lot of folks have had questions about Derek Forrest and why he wasn't starting. And I shared that in an episode last week as well. Make sure you all are subscribed and are checking out these episodes because my colleague from Locked On Commander, David Harrison, asked Coach Witt about Defoe. And it depends on the packages. It depends on what they got going on and who the opponent is that day. We'll continue to watch it. But, hey, the offense scored 14 points. Everybody lives to see another week, I suppose. On to the next clip.
Hey, Dan. For Jaden, what he's been doing for the first 4 weeks of the season is not usually typical for a rookie quarterback to have the amount of success that he's having. Why do you think he's having this type of success so early?
Well, Scott, I don't think it's not a magic
that's going into this. I know that's hard to say, but like he absolutely works his ass off. Like I would say that, number one. The time that he spends getting ready, getting prepared. I'd said it the other night on this trip. There's many nights their office the quarterback room was, just a few doors down from mine, and Thursday nights, and just staying in there, going through it again and again. He really puts in the work. So when the game time comes, there's a confidence that comes from that. And so I love the connection that everybody in that quarterback room has. It's Cliff, obviously, and Brian and Tavita and David Blau and the other quarterbacks that are with him. They really support the hell out of him, and featuring players of the things that they can do well, which Jaden can do a lot of things well, but finding those things that the other receivers can do well in different spots, different routes. I think that's some of this, but to think, he would start like this, no, I don't think anybody would have said that. But what I would say is that if you're around him, you feel this work ethic, and there's no, magic pixie dust that we're throwing into him. Like, it is absolutely grinding, working, and a lot of confidence comes from that, because he can enter the game knowing that he put the work in.
You all heard me say, if you've been sticking in for the whole show, and even if you haven't, you can go back and watch. I shared a story of where I was like, this kid has got a gift. And because of the support system they have around him, right, from the football front office staff, and this is going to go into, if you all follow me on Facebook, I shared a story. Chime in, fire emoji, love button. I watched the evolution of the Black Quarterback series on Amazon Prime while I was out in Arizona. I watched the first episode and a half after Thursday Night Football, which was over like at 8 p.m. because it's everything, they're on West Coast time this time of year. And then I watched the rest of it Saturday night. So I finished the series. Excellent. And of course, Doug Williams is featured, right? It's wonderfully done. And it's a lot of Black quarterbacks featured, and Steve Young is in it as well. Josh Allen is in it. But I was watching the other night on Thursday with Doug and the feature on Doug Williams, and I was like, man, I see Doug like almost every day and work with Doug. And it's just like, oh, there go Doug. It's like exciting at first when I first started like 7 years ago, like, oh my God, Doug Williams. And now you kind of, say like, oh, I got used to it. And I don't take a lot of pictures with folks. I don't do that because technically you're not supposed to in media. And I'm leaning back now, right? Because I'm a little relaxed because I'm also like reflecting. And we're going to get into some of the questions that you all asked, because this is definitely related to Jaden. And so again, I tell Dawn I'm talking about her. They were sitting down to eat in the press box. She sat down with Doug, and Donna Hopkins has been covering the Washington Commanders since their Super Bowl years. This is a very long time. And so she knows Doug Williams and that whole Super Bowl crew very well. And I think I heard Donna say, Candi, where you going? And Doug said, yeah, Candi, where you going? And I was like, I'm going to go over here. I mean, he said, you keep walking back and forth. You're always working. Sit down, have something to eat. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go eat and I'll be back. And I sat down at the table and I told him, I said, Doug, I watched the evolution of the Black quarterback. He said, oh, you did? What you think about it? I said, I loved it. I loved it. And I was, I don't want to give too much of all the things that I loved. If you haven't seen it yet, you all need to watch it. Trust me on that. And I said, Doug, you know what? I got to tell you, I think I've really taken for granted I see you all. Like, I'm sitting here with Doug Williams. It's almost like we all work together or we're co-workers. But it's like, Doug Williams. And he started laughing. He's looking at my face. I said, but like, for real though, like, I think I just am so used to you now, just used to it. I don't do right by the time that I'm able to spend with you and learn from you. And even if I slip up and make a comment about a play and something that I either catch your reaction to what I said, or I'm able to have a conversation with you about what I said and just learn from you, and just learn and just be a sponge, and even just understand the knowledge and making sure I am reading these things correctly and I'm seeing it right. And I said, so I got to do better, Doug, because you the first black quarterback. You the first black man to win a Super Bowl at quarterback. You the first black. I mean, that is crazy. That is like, you are a legend. You are a living, walking legend every single day. And I said, so I'm going to do better by you. I promise you, I'm going to do better by you. And I said, but I'm going to tell you one thing, something else. Exactly what I said to him. I know one person around here that does not take spending time with you for granted. And he looked at me, and at the same time, we both said, Jaden Daniels. Okay? And I said, let me be clear. I can tell that this organization is treating you exactly the way you should be. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Right? As a member of the media, but as a black woman in sports media, you don't see many of us either, right? In the locker room, in the practices I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just game day. I'm talking about in the grind, in the trenches, in practices. You don't see many black people. You don't see many black women. And here I am sitting with the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl, and I'm not gathering the knowledge. But that rookie, oh, he gets it. He gets it. He gets it. He's not wasting an opportunity to learn at all. Not at all. And I said, I feel like I need to be like Jaden when it comes to that. I ain't trying to be no quarterback. Let me be clear. But I'm talking about just the learning aspect of it. And he went on and on talking about Jaden. And he is what you see, and I've been sharing it with you all, but I've also been kind of like, let's see what this game day package look like. Let's see what all of this looks like. Jaden hasn't changed, not yet, and I hope he doesn't. After the game, he's happy, he's cooling, he's chilling. When he come in the press conference room, he like, what up, what up, what up? That's how he is at practice. And he put his headphones on when it's time to go, and he gone. We're gone with the team. And I noticed other things, and the relationships he's building. If you are watching the Commanders videos on their Instagram page or on their X page, and you are sensing happiness, Tress Way, I think Ben Standig may have shared this story, but Tress Way shared a story with us yesterday, and he said at one point on the sideline, Terry looked at him and smiled. Terry McLaurin looked at him and smiled and said, "Man, this is fun." And Tress Way said, "It is fun. It's different. It's different. And I hope it lasts. I hope it lasts." And I wanted to take the time, and I got to move on to these questions, you all. Because I could do clips all day, and I'm going to have more episodes throughout the week. But I thought it was important to share that with you all. One, because I wanted to, again, kudos to Michael Vick and I think Michael Strahan's production companies who produced the evolution of the black quarterback, and everybody that pulled that masterpiece together. Definitely watch all 3 episodes. And then just wanted to be transparent with you all, as I already am, and I try to be all the time, about my experiences and how this road is, and what it is and what it isn't. Right? Because this is a grind, and that's why I didn't mind telling everybody I'm happy to be home. And I think somebody asked. I mean, the team was too. Everybody was ready to go. We were like, "See you in Ashburn." They were like, "Yes." People were away from their families, they just weren't home. And so it was a sacrifice, as Dan Quinn said. It was seriously a sacrifice. And um two big wins on the road is a great way to spend that sacrifice, right? It makes it easier, right? It didn't have to go away for 8 days to see them lose, and they didn't have to play in a loss, and the coaches didn't have to coach in a loss. They came away big. Um, and so I think it was just a very important point to share with you all, because the team has a black quarterback. The team has had many black quarterbacks, right? But in this time with Jaden Daniels and seeing the relationship that he is building with Doug, that is not just a game day relationship. I am there so I can tell you it's very real. Very real. And I almost got a little emotional talking to him. I was like, man, and I'm like watching Jaden, and I'm like, dang, I need to be more like Jaden Daniels. He don't, he when he see Doug, it's like his face light. It's like like you see in your favorite like, all the time. And I tell Jaden, now, that would be like you when I grow up a little bit, because I need to just enjoy and just be excited when you see some of these people and leverage the opportunity. Because like Doug even told me, and I shared this with you at the beginning of this story, was you always walking back and forth, back and forth. You always working. Sit down. Take a breather. Get something to eat. You okay? You get to it. I appreciated that. I appreciate that. So this is a living legend told me to enjoy myself, sit down, go get something to eat. I need to do more of that. Now, on to the questions, everybody. First up, and I got to go through these super duper fast. Are we wrong to have a healthy, strong, optimistic outlook on our season and the future? Definitely not wrong for the future. Definitely not wrong for the future at all. Um I think that even this season, um what we're seeing, hey, I'm not changing my 7 games, you guys, okay? At all. But this is getting good, isn't it? Future, absolutely not. You be so excited, right? I'm not moving from my 7 games though. I'm just not. Because and at this point, I'm not moving from it because it's like, ooh, I'm gonna be wrong. Yes. Like, I'm okay with being wrong. Trust me. Trust me. I'm really okay with being wrong about that kind of thing. But I think what I think is helping fans right now, you all, is just continue to temper your expectations and roll with them through the growing pains. This is super impressive. But I just continue to temper your expectations, because I think you'll have more fun that way. That's all. I'm just being honest. I think you'll have more fun watching that way and watching the growth that way without going in with so many expectations. So I'll keep it there. Are we going to make any adjustments or ride it out for the season? Again, that this is kind of the question that Never asked earlier, right? It depends on what the record says. That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm not going to say that they're not going to always keep digging for talent, because they've already said and given the heads up they're going to continue to always dig for talent. But if the record reflects winning, now that doesn't mean if they have an opportunity to get a free agent or somebody, you see how it goes with the package that they have. And after 4 weeks, they're 3-1. I mean, nothing would surprise me, honestly. Um, and you might see you've seen teams make moves. Somebody gets hurt, you're going into the playoffs. Hey, we gotta make a move. You never know. You never know. It is something to um keep watching. But keep watching the record as well. That's going to be the key to continue to watch the record. Cleveland is winnable. Again, the Ravens is going to heat up on you. Then there's the Panthers, and then there's the Bears. So we'll see what happens. Look, everybody talk about this 7. Hey, what they at now? 3. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Not throwing no numbers out there. Let's see what happens. What, if anything, are we going to do with Allen and our Payne? Is our DC adverse to blitzing? So, hey, listen, here's what I think. I think we need to keep watching this play out, especially after yesterday. Let's see what's going. And we hear DQ, right? He's saying, hey, they're closer than they think. So that lets me know Dan Quinn is like, they in there somewhere. Let's hold on and see how they perform. They in there somewhere. Let's try to get it out of them. Let's try to see what we could do. Let's change some things. Again, it's when you talk about the defensive coordinator being adverse to blitzing, well, hey, listen, he's going to do what worked. And what worked yesterday against Kyler, that's what worked. They only scored 14 points. So he's talked about blitzing more in the presser, though, because he actually just said that last week, Joe Witt Jr. So again, we'll have to continue to see what the packages are and what the game plan is once they're in motion in these games. So far, it's been very intriguing for me to watch, and I'm sure for you all as well. NASDAQ was yesterday a turning point for the defense, or just a decent? It was a turning point. Each week, and it starts with, I want to say Frankie Louvu been showing off every week so far. But when we talk about the Frankie Louvus and we talk about the Bobby Wagners, you've heard them consistently talk about Quan Martin. You've heard them mention Percy Butler. Now you're hearing them talk about Jeremy Chin. You saw what Dorrance Armstrong did yesterday. Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne still not where we all want them to be. But you heard their names a little bit more, right? So Benjamin St. Juste has gotten some kudos in throughout the weeks as well. So it's just, they're 3-1. The record matters. And this is a team that I'm watching how they move internally. Oh, the record matters. That doesn't mean they're not going to get opportunities to get better. But let's not rock the boat. If we got people who are here and we're seeing improvement and the record is reflecting good things at 3-1, let's see what these guys are going to do and how they're going to continue to move forward. Let's see if they're going to morph and conform into the brand of football that we want to play. That's what I believe the coaches are saying. I'm speaking for them, but that's what I believe they're saying. And everybody listen. We saw the improvement. We watching it in real time in our faces. Like, oh my gosh. They really are doing it different. So I see this question. I feel like Brandon Coleman is a dog. Does his reps increasing more each week? So here's one thing people got to remember about Brandon Coleman. He had an injury during preseason. He had an injury in preseason. It's the same thing with Johnny Newton. So you got to ease him in based on the injury and based on the package and what's going on. Right? So that's all that is. I think he's absolutely the left tackle, but he had an injury. So that's why you're seeing him getting more reps. They're just easing him in after injury. I wouldn't think too much harder about it. That's all that is. They're just easing him in from injury. So I wanted to jump to that question. Okay, so NASDAQ answered that. Everybody's asking the same thing. How's Austin Eckler? Here's what I'll say. Coach, we did ask Coach an injury question today, and I didn't get to that clip. I think I shared with you earlier in the conversation, Nick Allegretti, his x-rays on his ankle came back negative, but Coach really doesn't have to give injury updates until Wednesday and final updates on Friday. Definitely doesn't have to give game status until Friday. So injury report starts on Wednesday. Game status is Friday. So just important point, write it in your notebook. Hey, Austin's got a concussion and he's only been out since Monday, everybody. Okay. Okay. So he's in concussion protocol. They take that very seriously in the NFL now. All right. So yeah, he's only been out for a week now. So, and hey, listen, Jeremy McNichols was pretty daggone good. So hey, Jeremy, keep cooking. He said that he would. You make sure Austin is 100%. Because as others were saying at the beginning of this conversation, this is a coaching staff that is like, did you say 7, girl? Yes, I did. You know, so we're gonna wait where the 7 to get into the playoffs. So let that man heal. Jeremy McNichols did a phenomenal job against the Arizona Cardinals. I was actually waiting for you all to see that. And if you saw my last episode, you know I said it. I said, hey, I gotta want y'all to see this because I knew that was coming. So it was a good deal. Let Austin heal. It's only been a week. And if he has a concussion, he definitely has to go through concussion protocol. Also remember that he has a lacerated ear. So he has to get that, you know, get all of that healing underway and make sure he's good to go. From Deontay, what's the team's vibe with the early start? And can you keep telling them how you really feel to ensure? Listen, so the vibe is the vibe. For sure of what you're seeing on the Washington Commanders pages. That is the real vibe. But when it's time to get to work during the week, they get to work. All right. One of the things that Dan Quinn said last week, and I think this is a very important point to mention, is that he doesn't want the team to get too high. He doesn't want the team to get too low. You know, it's a roller coaster. You trying to keep, and you just 4 games in. All right. The season is long, everybody. The season is very, very long. So 3-1, closing out week 4. People who are injured, let them heal so that they can come back for the long haul, because it appears that's what they're going for. And we'll see. We'll see. Every week is an adventure right now. Every week is an adventure. And I hope you all feel like that as well. I'm getting ready to close out because this has been a very, very, very long show, but I had to make sure I get in everything. Before we drop off, make sure you are dropping the chat how you're feeling. I had to, what's your one word to describe how you felt after the Cardinals game, but definitely dropping the chat how you're feeling headed into week 5, because very soon the team is going to be, hey, listen, they're going to deal with the high of the win and all that. They're off tomorrow, back to practice on Wednesday. So by Wednesday, again, short memory works always. By Wednesday, they're going to be like 3-1, huh? Okay. And they're going to be on to Cleveland. They're going to be on to Cleveland. Matter of fact, I think when Cliff got the game ball, he was like on to the next. They just going through the schedule and planning accordingly. So you all, thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure you all are following me. Make sure you are subscribed and you are keeping up with all of the Washington Commanders updates. This is going to be a journey for sure, you all. And like I said, I didn't even get to all the clips, but this is going to be a journey. You all want to make sure you stay locked in with Bowie TV because we're absolutely going to be there for the entire journey. So you all, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will be seeing you all again soon.